Western monarchs are in crisis. This is where Save Mount Diablo comes to the rescue, and so can you. They may look fragile, but these butterflies can be tough if we give them a chance. After all, they're known for their epic migrations that can span up to 3,000 miles. Just inland from California's coast, Mount Diablo and its foothills are an essential part of that journey. One butterfly can't do it alone. The eastern migration from coastal California takes many generations to complete, and that's why they need life-sustaining milkweed along the way.
It definitely is right in the way of where they migrate through, coming north. And there's populations of them all along the coast, even further north of us. But you have this huge island here of habitat, super diverse habitat. You know, Mount Diablo has so many different canyons and, you know, different ecological styles, if you will, all around it. But for some reason, we're not seeing very strong populations of that butterfly here.
Monarchs overwinter in California, as they have for centuries. Winter here is cold enough to slow their metabolism, but it's still warm enough for them to survive until spring, when they will make their way northeast again. With the help of native milkweed and nectar plants, our region can serve as one of the first sanctuaries along their path, where the butterflies can eat, rest, and produce the next generation for their migration. This is why our top priority is to protect and plant early season milkweeds and nectar plants without the use of pesticides.
There's so many different isolated little areas that are perfect for all species, but monarchs included. As it gets further north, obviously you get more water than you do further south. It's a lot more arid further south. But still, having these little pockets as they migrate through, it's super important for this animal to have that contiguous land protection.
So just grab a set of pair of gloves if you don't have them.
Yeah, and pick a planting tool that you like, Dave.
With your support, our stewardship team has been planting milkweeds and nectar plants for monarchs. We are incredibly grateful for your help in restoring habitat for monarch butterflies across Mount Diablo.
This is 5 years of us doing this project. I was trying to build little islands of habitat for them. So as they come through, they start to pepper in and hopefully get their numbers back up.
In the 1980s, millions of butterflies overwintered in California. Their brilliant orange wings as plentiful as the leaves on the trees. In recent years, however, their populations have declined by more than 95%.
Oh, they were definitely a lot more prevalent until the 90s, and then they suddenly just, started to disappear. And we saw that, I grew up in Martinez, so we saw that in Martinez. I remember seeing them all over the place. I'd see them here on the mountain as a kid. I'd see them in other parts of the state, much higher populations and quantities of them. We just don't see that anymore, and that's for a lot of different reasons. It's pretty interesting. I mean, whenever I was a park ranger, we monitored a couple overwintering sites, and when we first started monitoring them, there were tens of thousands there. And there was a period 2 years ago where there was just 2 butterflies, where a number of years before there was 20,000, 30,000. So it's that drastic.
With a widely fluctuating population, they can be difficult to measure, but the trends are clear. As recently as 2016, the Western monarch count recorded nearly 300,000 monarchs. This past winter, in 2024, they found just over 9,000 butterflies. This is the second lowest number we have seen since 1997. It's clear that monarchs are in crisis. 3 major reasons for this are habitat loss, pesticides, and climate change. Habitat loss comes in several forms. For one, agricultural expansion and degradation of open spaces has largely eliminated essential native plants that monarchs rely on, such as nectar plants and native milkweed. Urban sprawl and industrial development are also major factors, making quality monarch habitat harder and harder to find. Whether agriculturally or around homes, whenever pesticides come into contact with milkweeds or nectar plants, it puts pollinators, like monarchs, in danger. Climate change is also hurting monarchs. Prolonged drought, Intensifying winter storms, unprecedented heat, and more can stress and sometimes kill the caterpillars and the butterflies. These increasing threats have made it difficult for monarchs to survive, especially without their host plant, milkweed.
Move along and create like a spaced out grid of plants along this slope here below this one tree that we see kind of in the center of this hillside. The milkweed plant is the host plant for monarch butterflies, which means that this is the only plant where they can lay their eggs and where the caterpillars have a food source. And they're all on slopes because they all like northwest facing slopes.
After the caterpillars become butterflies, the butterflies need nectar. On and around Mount Diablo, it's especially important to establish nectar plants that bloom in the early spring months of February through April, and the early fall months of September and October. For early spring, in our region, these include black sage, chaparral currant, blue dix, coyote bush, seaside daisy, manzanita, and willow. For early fall in our region, these include California sunflower, common sunflower, goldenrod, gum plant, western vervain, and coyote bush. With the help of our amazing volunteers, Save Mount Diablo has been planting milkweeds around Mount Diablo.
Our focus today is on stewardship of the monarch butterfly population via our planting of one of its host plants, the milkweed, the California milkweed.
To get the project running, a dedicated volunteer mapped locations of native California milkweeds all over Mount Diablo. This data provided crucial insights and precious milkweed seeds.
We collect it with these little kind of mesh bags that we put over these big, huge pear-shaped fruits. Right before they're about to open, as these fruits open, they disperse these little seeds with almost like little feathers on them that get airborne and float around the area. That's kind of how they spread as a plant. But these little bags will catch that whole collective, and then we can take that seed, process that, and get all the frass out of that, and then take that to the watershed nursery to germinate.
After our California milkweed sprouted at the watershed nursery, monarchs found them and laid eggs on them.
Like most California native plants, things go dormant.
Yeah.
And so this time of year, this stuff goes dormant, and so it looks like it's just this dead mass of sticks. But underneath in the earth, it's still very much alive. And every year around March, these plants will start to come back. They'll put out a bunch of leaves. They'll kind of spread their roots out all year long, but they'll start growing downhill, and they'll put out these big flower clusters. In the spring, usually around April or so, and that's when the monarch butterflies come in, lay their eggs, and little caterpillars start coming out around April or May.
We've seen some signs that California milkweed seems to be preferred by monarchs at Mount Diablo. This could be because it emerges earlier than other species of milkweeds on the mountain.
Or the monarchs are only really focused on this part of the mountain with this plant specifically. So
With the California milkweed.
with the California milkweed, yeah. So there is narrowleaf milkweed here too, but this part of the mountain, the monarchs really only want that California milkweed.
We feel such immense gratitude for you, our supporters, people who've donated to support our restoration efforts, the students, teachers, and other volunteers who collected milkweed seeds, and the dozens of folks who've come out to plant hundreds of milkweed seedlings and nectar plants in our pollinator gardens across Mount Diablo. Monarchs may be in crisis, but the good news is that we can help. You can find which milkweed and nectar plants are native to your neighborhood by using calscape.org. They have a number of features to help you find the right choice, and each plant makes a difference.
As humans, sometimes we do some things that are not so great, but we also have the ability to do things that are great. So that's kind of like the beauty of being a part of these projects.
When you practice organic gardening or buy organic from the store, when you select native nectar plants and native milkweeds at the nursery that are pesticide-free, you're reducing the threat of pesticides. When we collectively support solutions to climate change, that helps Western monarchs too. And by planting native milkweed varieties and nectar plants in your area, you provide a tangible stepping stone on their road to recovery.
I'll tell you what, this is such a great way to finish the year. I just love being able to get out and plant.
I don't know, it's a special place. And all the properties that Save Mount Diablo owns along Marsh Creek are important to me. And it starts up here.
By pushing for better practices and restoring these native plant species, we can help the western monarchs, and maybe even heal a part of ourselves in the process.